Alright guys, thanks so much for tuning into the video. So, as you can see from the title, the thumbnail, this video is about a style of training that I've been doing now pretty much for 10 years. And for long periods, it's been my preferred style of training. But, disclaimer before we begin, this is not me saying this is the optimal method to build muscle. To get the most benefits out of this style of training, you need a little bit of a foundation to start with. And this is about building additional muscle, but this is about, how should we say, redefining the muscle you have. If you've been training for a long time and you've got decent size, but the definition's not quite there, even when your diet is in check, maybe switching up and trying this for a couple of months will really help. So I first came across this 10 years ago. I read a book called Visual Impact by Rusty Moore. It was a really interesting approach to get that sort of Hollywood aesthetic physique. And the thing that really drew me to it was the fact that he was promoting having dense, hard-looking muscles. So we're not going for the pump here. We're not focused on the pump. We're focused on making the muscle appear as if it's full. And the way to do this is by switching up the style of training. So sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is effectively filling the muscle with fluid. We do this by training 8 to 12 reps, and we're basically filling the muscle at that time. So that's why we're feeling a pump. Well, the blood is what's causing the pump, but what's holding it is going to be sort of rounder and fluffier, let's say. Now, obviously, depending on the level of the athlete, this can look very impressive. But what we're going to look at today is flipping it on its head and looking at something called myofribula hypertrophy, which is, instead of filling the muscle up, it's actually breaking down the muscle tissue and then rebuilding it. So it's a longer process, it's a slower process. It's also a less optimal process in terms of building muscle. A lot of these methods are actually going to be more similar to, say, powerlifting. The main difference being that powerlifters are not bothered about aesthetics. So we're going to marry the two. We're going to get an increase in strength plus a low body fat percentage, which is going to leave us looking really ripped, really shredded, really aesthetic. To get onto the method itself, guys, we're going to need to pick up some heavier weights. And instead of aiming for 8 reps, 10 reps, 12 reps, you're going to be looking more at, I used to do 4 reps, but I always start with about 6 reps now. So get a set of 6 reps in. Personally, I call it like a primer. It primes the muscles for what's about to come. Then you're going to boost the weight up significantly. So let's say we started with 30 kilo dumbbells on incline press. We're going to jump to 40s. So immediately we're challenging ourselves. Now, yeah, some people might be stronger than that. Oh, that's easy for me. But for me, when I was going through this method, 40s was a challenge. So I jumped up to 40s and I'm aiming for 4 reps. Eventually, that becomes a little bit more comfortable. So I put down the 40s, get the 45s. I'm aiming for 3 reps. And then finally, for those last couple of sets, and you don't need to stick to a certain amount of sets here, guys. You can do 5, 6, 7 sets. You're going to need longer rest periods, but the actual sets itself, it's not as exerting as doing, 3 sets of 12. So during that feeling out process where you're sort of getting used to this style of training, because it can be a bit intimidating at first to suddenly lift heavy weights. And to be honest, the biggest challenge during parts of this is actually getting the weight up, getting it up. But isn't that a challenge for all of us on a daily basis? Anyway, so once you get the weights up, actually going through the reps can be very, very satisfying. Another method that you can try with this is to do plate-loaded machines. So, for example, if you do a plate-loaded incline chest press, like a hammer strength machine or something like that, then you're safe. You know that if things go pear-shaped, you can just sort of let go and, you should be okay. So that's another way of getting over that psychological barrier, let's call it, a psychological barrier which might hold you back. So how I set my workouts up using this method is I choose 2 exercises that I'm really going to go for strength with, and then I do one, let's call it a burner exercise at the end. So for example, I usually train chest and back together when I'm using this method. So I might do a plate-loaded machine for chest, weighted pull down, and again, like a cable lat pull down is good, but I find a plate loaded pull down is really good, especially one where you can get your knees nice and tucked under. Then I will switch on to dumbbells, Usually I focus on incline just to build out that upper chest. And then I'll do some sort of row. Seated row is not optimal because of the sort of like mechanics of the movement. So I do either a T-bar row or a chest supported row usually. And then once I've got through those heavy sets, I will finish off with a fly or a rear fly. Something that's really just going to attack the muscle for the last part of the workout. Hope this has been helpful information, guys. Be very careful when training this way if it's your first time, but give it a try. Just because it doesn't feel like it's what you're used to, that's what's going to make the difference. So if you've got any questions, hit me up, pt.bobbyt on Instagram. Message me there if you want any advice. And until next time, thank you very much.